What am I looking at? I usually don't really question Genshin Impact character designs anymore, but are we gonna act like this guy looks cool? If we are, then whoa, this guy is so cool, it's a dragon who totally doesn't look lame. The Genshin Impact 6.2 live stream just happened and there's a lot to be excited for. Like the fact that Where Winds Meet is doing great right now and is actually going mainstream. I didn't say there would be anything to be excited for that was happening in Genshin. I guess you can be excited that these devs at least have heard of the term quality of life because the tweaks they made to dailies and Plea, but I don't know. That might be a stretch because even those changes were super minimal. I don't even think they could be considered quality of life. But it isn't just the weak quality of life that came with this update. We also have a mechanic very similar to Night Soul being highlighted and a 4-star that has a funny gimmick, so everyone will forget that the update has absolutely nothing else in it. Genshin Impact is one of those games that will always be relevant. If there are aliens out there, they might be playing Genshin Impact right now. Now, for some people, this may be really bad news, but for those who love this game, I'm sure it's comforting to hear that it will never truly die. Even with these sorry-ass events that you have to play in order to get premium currency. Some of these are the classic Petite Planet beta tests that we've been seeing throughout HSR, and some of that has leaked over into Genshin, so anybody excited for that upcoming release won't mind this. But for anyone interested in not playing gacha Animal Crossing, this is probably not very good news for you, and Genshin is still flexing one of its #1 problems to this day in the fact that you get way less pulls per patch than you used to, and on top of that, the value of those pulls is diminished because of the fact that a lot of these newer characters are requiring their weapons to function and an extra teammate on top of that. And then we have the promotion of the new predatory mechanic that they've introduced in order to maximize profit. But you know what? Genshin isn't even really a game that is known for really good combat, so I guess the mediocre combat events don't really matter. Oh, and I forgot, there is more minigames. So you are really getting the minigame treatment this patch, and if you want a shot at all of that stuff that you have to get as a free-to-play to interact with in-game content, then you know what to do. And I think we're finally starting to see that shift from Genshin where the free-to-play is becoming extinct. And really the only way to have fun here anymore is just spending money, because do not lie to yourself and act like you would play these mini games if they did not offer you premium currency. So Durin is the new limited 5-star coming to Genshin, and somebody tell me why he can't fly. And I'm talking actual flight, like what Mawika can do with her bike for some reason. By the way, if you didn't know, I'm the #1 Mawika hater, and that is because everything wrong with Genshin comes back to her. And now we have yet another reason we can come back to this biker girl and see why Genshin is so far gone. And while I am trolling a little, we do have to admit that at this point, we have to upgrade some of these animations at this point. We've been doing the same old quick burst animation for years now. I feel like we're at a point where we can invest some of this money into better looking animations instead of a whole new title that nobody's gonna play. And then they're over here flexing 2 forms as if this gives him any sort of combat depth. And once again, the animations here aren't very impressive coming from a $1 billion company. And here we finally have the Venti buffs that are 1, 2, 3, too many years late, right? Too many years late, might I add. But I guess it's okay because it's better late than never. But here's the thing, I can already see it. They are taking the HSR route with these buffs, and he will be garbage again in just a couple of months. Oyo has no intention of actually making these older characters viable again. They will only buff them when they are on the banner to give people an incentive to pull them, and when they are rotated out, they will forget that they exist once again. It actually doesn't benefit them to put their time and resources into older units to make them somewhat viable, and at least they have the luxury of not caring about what some people think about garbage like this, because they are still going to make a lot of money off of these buffed reruns. Venti can be a DPS now, and that's cool, and he can have a new signature weapon, which, by the way, Oyo, try not to make it so obvious that you want people to spend a little bit more money than they should. But what if someone doesn't even like this new playstyle that they made, which won't be relevant in a couple of years' time? Oh, and then on top of all of that, go ahead and use him with Durin. So if you want to maximize the potential out of your temporary Venti buff, then go ahead and use another Hexarai character. Doesn't that sound like a lot? Well, I'm not done yet. Speaking of non-factors in this video game, we have a character like Albedo, who is also getting buffed, and this guy arguably needed it even more than Venti, because somehow he was released after Venti, but is absolutely atrocious. But once again, taking a page out of the Star Rail book of bullshit, Albedo is getting a buff where he synergizes with the new units. And yes, I am talking about the Hexarai mechanic, and long story short, this is something akin to the infamous Night Soul mechanic, where you have to use certain characters on the team in order to fulfill requirements for more damage. So you could say that this is basically the Night Soul of Nodcry, and you might think this is a great thing because Albedo was unusable anyways, but here's the thing. I think that everyone should notice by now, when you give a unit new viability by attaching them to a recent character, when that character also gets power crept, what do you do now? Wait for the next buff in 15 years? And remember, this isn't old Genshin Impact, where characters are viable for long periods of time. This is Genshin Impact in almost 2026, where Natlan units are starting to fall off. And that was the last region we were just in. The pattern is clear as day. Old units will finally be receiving buffs in Genshin, but it's null and void because of the fact that these buffs are only benefiting them in the long run, and them being Hoyoverse. I think it physically hurts Hoyoverse to be player friendly. And we're not done yet. The other Mondstadt units that received buffs function in the same way. They need a Hexarai character to be able to feel buffed. Oh, but DG, Klee is getting a quality of life buff. You're so ungrateful. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Your word of the day is Barsapura. I think that's how you say that. This is the new Hoyo project that Columbina is going to fund. So we need to make sure that we, as in me and you, spend as much money as possible here so that this game can be good for only about a year, because that's usually the lifespan of these recent Hoyo releases. I will say that the game does look very good. If Hoyo ever does one thing right, it's polish. And as we all know, that carries you a long way, as you can see by the success of Genshin and HSR. But it sucks that the companies that have the money to constantly generate AAA quality titles are stuck in a cycle of greed for more money. I really do want to try to be optimistic and think that one of these new Hoyo games could possibly have some sort of long-term value, but most of the time you should just assume that what you see is as good as it's going to get. And it did not have to be this way. It's crazy to think that we could live in a world with games that have the Hoyo polish and the devs like something similar to Kuro that listen. Oh wait, we do have it. It's Where Winds Meet, but I am going to try to give credit where it's due. If the game doesn't have gacha, I'm sure it'll be great, but considering it's coming from Hoyo, that is extremely unlikely. And even if it doesn't have gacha, it'll probably have some sort of predatory way to encourage spending money. So that's that. And sorry for the inconsistent uploads lately. I've been dealing with some BS. Let's just say that. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this far if you have. Really cute today. Peace.